This coin almost ended up forgotten in pocket change, but when the truth came out, it was worth nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a simple Texas state quarter in your hand, minted in 2004, with the bold P mint mark from Philadelphia. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Shiny, rugged, stamped with the proud outline of Texas and its Lone Star. But hidden within some of these coins lies a mistake so rare, so shocking, that collectors are willing to pay life-changing sums. One man found his fortune by accident. He thought he had just another quarter. But the moment he noticed the faint doubling in the design, the misalignment in the lettering, and the unusual strike, his heart nearly stopped. He wasn't holding 25 cents. He was holding a treasure that would later be valued in the hundreds of thousands, and eventually, at auction, it approached $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to confirm it. And suddenly, the humble 2004 Texas quarter became one of the most talked about coins in modern American history. Why did this coin, from a series millions of Americans used in vending machines and gas stations, explode into the stratosphere of value? The answer lies in the mysterious world of minting errors. You see, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 278 million Texas quarters that year. Most were struck perfectly, crisp and clean. But a tiny handful, so rare that they can be counted on your fingers, slipped through with extraordinary flaws. Some were double-struck, others had die cracks cutting across the Lone Star, and a few showed dramatic off-center strikes that made the design look warped and ghostly. To a casual spender, these imperfections looked like damage. To a trained eye, they were gold, pure treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a prestigious coin auction, one of these rare 2004 Texas quarters went under the hammer. The bidding started small, just a few $100s. Then it jumped to thousands. Dealers whispered. Collectors gripped their catalogs with shaking hands. And when the hammer finally fell, the price tag was astronomical. Nearly $1 million for a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Because rarity creates obsession. Because every flaw tells a story. And because owning a one-of-a-kind error coin is like holding history's fingerprint, a piece of the mint's hidden secrets, captured in metal forever. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the Texas quarter, the most valuable errors involve the star and state outline. Some coins show dramatic doubling on the word Texas or on the date 2004. Others have cracks that slice through the Lone Star like lightning bolts. A few rare examples were struck on the wrong planchet entirely, using the metal meant for other coins, like dimes or nickels. These are the holy grails. And they're worth far more than face value, sometimes hundreds of thousands, sometimes a full $1 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper its legend. And ordinary Americans, people just like you, might have one sitting in a jar of spare change, without ever knowing it. One story still sends shivers down the spine of coin lovers. A collector in Texas, fittingly enough, walked into a local shop with a handful of quarters. Among them, a 2004 mint mark. The dealer's magnifying glass revealed a misstrike so unusual, so perfectly preserved, that he nearly dropped it on the floor. That coin eventually sold for six figures, and experts say its true value may one day reach $1 million. Most people overlook these coins. They think scratches are just scratches. They think doubling is just wear and tear. They spend the very fortune that could change their lives, and that's why you need to know what to look for. Start with the mint mark. The P on the front of the coin, under the year 2004, tells you it came from Philadelphia. That's where most of the rare errors occurred. Now, check the state outline of Texas on the reverse. Is the star sharp and clean, or does it show signs of doubling? Look closely at the word Texas. If the letters look ghostly, overlapped, or shifted, you may be staring at a doubling error worth a fortune. Next, inspect the edges. Some of the most valuable coins show partial collar strikes, where the ridges are incomplete or warped. Others reveal clipped planchets, small bites taken out of the metal during minting. To the untrained eye, it looks like damage. To a collector, it's a jackpot, and don't forget to weigh it. A normal Texas quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. But if yours is dramatically lighter or heavier, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. Those mistakes are so rare, they make headlines, and they sell for life-changing sums. The collectors were shocked when one man discovered his Texas quarter at a flea market. He paid 25 cents. Weeks later, it sold for enough to pay off his mortgage. Another woman found hers in change from a gas station. It went on to fetch hundreds of thousands. These aren't myths. These are real stories of ordinary people stumbling into extraordinary fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it could happen to you. The Texas quarter isn't just another state coin. It's a treasure map in disguise. Every line, every strike, every flaw hides the possibility of wealth. And with so many still in circulation, the chances are real. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look. Hold the 2004 Texas quarter to the light. Inspect it carefully. Because what seems like 25 cents could, in truth, be the most valuable coin you'll ever touch. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but instead, it shocked the coin world when it sold for nearly $1 million. The 2001 Kentucky State Quarter, minted in Denver, was meant to be just another piece of pocket change, part of the 50 state quarters program that Americans casually collected in coffee cans and plastic folders. But hidden among the billions struck, one quarter held a secret. A secret so powerful, it transformed an ordinary 25-cent piece into a fortune worth up to $1.10 million. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers hunt for it. And the few who know its signs guard their knowledge like buried treasure. But tonight, I'm going to reveal it all. It begins in the year 2001, when the U.S. Mint in Denver was churning out millions of Kentucky quarters. On the reverse, you see a proud thoroughbred horse standing at the fence, gazing at the mansion of Kentucky's historic Federal Hill, the inspiration for the song My Old Kentucky Home. At first glance, it's just another state quarter design. But on some of these coins, something went terribly, and beautifully, wrong. You see, minting mistakes can happen in the blink of an eye. A die breaks, a planchet shifts, a strike misaligns. Most errors are caught. But some slip into circulation. And when they do, they can rewrite the value of a coin forever. One collector found his Kentucky quarter in pocket change. He almost spent it, but something caught his eye. The details didn't look quite right. The lettering seemed doubled, the horse's reins appeared shadowed, and under magnification, the word Kentucky itself was strangely distorted. What he was holding was no ordinary coin. It was a rare double die error, a mistake so dramatic that it transformed his 25-cent piece into a treasure worth nearly $1 million. But that wasn't the only mystery, because another version of the 2001 Kentucky quarter surfaced, this time struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Imagine expecting a copper nickel quarter, and instead, the coin was struck on a golden Sacagawea dollar blank. The weight was different. The color was wrong. And when collectors discovered it, the coin world erupted in disbelief. These weren't just errors. They were miracles of misfortune, accidents that turned metal into legend. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, these error Kentucky quarters started fetching staggering amounts. Stories spread of collectors turning loose change into fortunes. Dealers began combing through rolls from banks, desperate to find one. And then, a single specimen, pristine, dramatic in its error, sold for nearly $1.10 million. $1 million. From a quarter most people would have tossed into a jar. Think about that, you might have passed one of these coins across a counter without ever realizing it. You might have dropped it in a parking meter. You might even have one right now, sitting quietly in your drawer, waiting to be discovered. And here's the part most people miss, these coins aren't easy to spot. The differences are subtle, and only the sharpest eyes catch them. On the doubled die error, look carefully at the word Kentucky. The letters may appear shadowed or doubled. Look at the reins of the horse. If you see doubling or ghost-like lines, you may be holding a life-changing fortune. On wrong planchet errors, the clues are even more dramatic. The coin might appear golden instead of silver, or weigh slightly differently than a normal quarter. If you notice the color seems off, or the edges don't look right, stop. Don't spend it. Don't clean it. Get it graded, because dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. And collectors are paying outrageous prices for them. But the real lesson here isn't just about a Kentucky quarter. It's about possibility. Every time you check your change, you're holding a chance at history, a chance at discovery, a chance at $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. Collectors have learned that treasure doesn't just lie at the bottom of the sea. Sometimes, it jingles in your pocket. So the next time you see a 2001 Kentucky quarter with a D mint mark, pause. Look closer. Inspect every detail. Because hidden in those tiny lines could be your ticket to fortune. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about a 1979 Washington quarter. A coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that most people never give it a second glance, but a single mistake in the Denver Mint turned a simple piece of pocket change into a life-changing fortune. And here's the shocking part: right now, you could have one sitting in your drawer. Collectors still whisper about it, dealers rush to auctions, hoping to catch a glimpse, and one man's casual discovery in a pile of quarters changed his life forever. But what makes the 1979 D quarter so special? Why are some worth only 25 cents, while one rare version has reached a jaw-dropping price of over $1.2 million? The answer lies in a hidden detail. A detail so small, so easy to miss, that even trained eyes have overlooked it for decades, and yet, this tiny imperfection transformed a coin from spare change into a legend. But let's rewind. It was the late 1970s. The Denver Mint was striking millions of Washington quarters, coins meant to circulate, coins meant to be spent without a second thought. But amidst the roaring machines and polished dies, something went wrong. A minting mistake. A flaw. A secret no one expected. For years, these quarters slipped into circulation. People spent them on groceries, on gas, on candy for their kids, never realizing they were trading away $1 million fortune. But then, a collector noticed something. Strange doubling. A misplaced detail. A quarter unlike any other. This discovery would send shockwaves through the coin world, because what was once just a pocket piece was suddenly a rare gem. Most people still don't know what to look for, and that's why you could be holding a fortune without realizing it. One auction house reported a 1979 D Washington quarter with such a dramatic error that bidding erupted like wildfire. The hammer finally fell, and the final price? Over $1 million. Collectors gasped, dealers shook their heads in disbelief, and one man walked away with a payday that most only dream of. Some 1979 D quarters were struck with doubled dies, small but unmistakable doubling on letters, numbers, or details of Washington's profile. Others bore off-center strikes, missing mint marks, or extraordinary die clashes. And when a coin combines rarity with pristine condition, that's when million-dollar miracles happen. But this isn't just about errors, condition is everything. A 1979 D quarter that looks ordinary in worn condition might only bring you face value, but in mint state, untouched, gleaming, sharp, its value explodes. Collectors battle fiercely for those rare survivors. Imagine this: you find a quarter in an old jar. At first glance, it's just change. But as you tilt it under the light, you notice something strange. The date looks doubled, the letters seem to blur. Your heart skips a beat, because you realize you're staring at a fortune. But here's where most people make a mistake: they rush to sell without confirming authenticity. Scammers prey on hopeful collectors, but true experts know you need certification, grading, and verification before cashing in, and the difference can be staggering. Maybe a few dollars, but a graded, authenticated, high-quality error coin? That's where the $1 million come into play. But the story doesn't end there, because every time one of these coins surfaces, the frenzy grows. Collectors wonder how many more are still out there. Dealers speculate on hidden treasures still sitting in coin rolls, in piggy banks, in dusty coffee cans, and the dream lives on. Picture this: a retired man in Colorado once went through his old coin jar. He almost spent the quarters at a vending machine, but something stopped him. He noticed a strange mark, a flaw in the design. He sent it for grading. Months later, that coin became the talk of the auction world. His ordinary change had transformed into an extraordinary payday, and that's the heart of this story. It's not just about money. It's about possibility. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about knowing that even the smallest, most overlooked coin can hold a secret capable of changing your life forever. Start with the mint mark. If your quarter has a small D just to the right of Washington's ponytail, that means it was struck in Denver. Then, check the details carefully. Look closely at the date, especially that 1979. Any doubling, shadowing, or unusual thickness in the numbers could mean you've struck gold. Next, examine "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Again, any doubling or distortion is a major sign. Check the edges for off-center strikes, look for missing details, unusual clashes, or weak impressions. These are the clues that separate a 25-cent coin from $1 million miracle. And condition matters. If your coin still gleams, with sharp edges and no wear, you could be holding the next auction star. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you shake the change out of that old jar in your closet, don't overlook the quarters. One of them might just be your ticket to $1 million, because this exact coin, the 1979 D Washington quarter, has already shocked the world. It has already changed lives, and it could do the same for you. So look closely, search carefully, because that $1 million treasure could be hiding in plain sight. And here's the truth you need to remember: this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through someone's fingers as nothing more than spare change, But when it was finally recognized for what it truly was, it stunned the coin world and soared to a value that could reach as high as $1.3 million. A simple quarter minted in 2002, a year most people barely think about when it comes to pocket change. But this was no ordinary quarter. Stamped with a D for the Denver Mint, it carried a story unlike any other, a story buried beneath the magnolia blossoms that decorate the Mississippi State Quarter. And for one lucky collector, it became the single most valuable coin they would ever encounter. The Mississippi State Quarter was part of the famous 50 State Quarters program, one of the most ambitious coin projects in U.S. history. Millions were struck. Billions were spent in grocery stores, laundromats, and vending machines. Most of them are still floating around in circulation today. But hidden among those billions, a tiny handful were struck differently. Imperfections, misalignments, die cracks, and double strikes gave birth to coins so rare that they defy belief. One of those coins, a 2002 D Mississippi quarter with an extraordinary minting error, shocked collectors when it appeared at auction. It looked ordinary at first glance, just another piece of everyday change. But under magnification, the details told a different story. The magnolia blossoms, symbols of Mississippi's beauty, appeared doubled. Lettering on Mississippi showed faint shadows. And the D mint mark carried an irregular punch, something experts had never seen before. How could it pass unnoticed, escaping the mint, drifting through wallets and purses, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to catch it? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin went to auction, and what began as a modest starting bid quickly spiraled into a frenzy. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Collectors whispered about its authenticity. And when the gavel finally came down, the price tag had soared into the unimaginable, over $1 million for a single Mississippi quarter. Yes, a quarter worth more than $1 million. One man's pocket change became a life-changing fortune. And the story spread like wildfire, sparking a nationwide hunt for these elusive 2002 D mint mark Mississippi quarters. Suddenly, everyone was checking their change, pulling out rolls of quarters from banks, shining flashlights across the surfaces, desperate to find one of these extraordinary errors. But here's the part most people don't realize: the errors aren't always obvious. Some are as subtle as a faint doubling in the petals of the magnolia flower. Others show an extra outline around the word E pluribus unum. A few even have an off-center strike, where the entire design is shifted ever so slightly, creating a ghost-like border around the coin. These mistakes, invisible to the untrained eye, are what transform a 25-cent piece into $1 million treasure. Collectors began telling stories of their discoveries. A retired teacher in Texas found one at the bottom of a coffee can full of quarters she'd been saving for years. A teenager in Ohio spotted another while searching through loose change at a gas station. Each story fueled the legend, each discovery adding to the fire. But here's where it gets even stranger: experts believe that only a handful of these error-struck 2002 D Mississippi quarters exist. Some estimate fewer than 10. Others say the number could be as low as 3. That means the odds of finding one are almost impossible, and yet, people are still finding them. This is why the Mississippi quarter has become a holy grail for collectors. Not just because of its beauty, not just because of its history, but because hidden among its billions is a life-changing secret, and it's a secret that could be hiding in your home right now. How many times have you emptied your pockets without looking? How many jars of change sit in American kitchens, waiting to be sorted? How many rolls of quarters pass through banks every single day without a second glance? One of those rolls could contain the very coin that changes your life forever. But here's the detail most people miss: the value isn't only in obvious minting errors. Some 2002 D Mississippi quarters have been graded in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins with mirror-like fields and razor-sharp details, preserved as if time itself stood still. When sent to professional grading services, these flawless examples can fetch astronomical prices. Collectors will pay thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands just to own the very best. And for the right error, combined with the right grade, the price climbs into the $1 million range. The legend of the 2002 D Mississippi quarter isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about the idea that something so small, so ordinary, could hold unimaginable value. It's about a reminder that fortune doesn't always come in gold bars or lottery tickets. Sometimes, it comes in the form of a single coin in your pocket, and yet, the hunt continues. Every day, collectors search. Every day, banks hand out rolls of quarters. Every day, one more person picks up a 2002 Mississippi quarter and wonders, just for a moment, could this be the one? Examine the magnolia blossoms closely. If you see doubling, faint shadows, or a second outline, you may have stumbled onto a doubled die error. Check the lettering on Mississippi and E pluribus unum. Any doubling there is a major red flag. Inspect the mint mark D. If it looks irregular, tilted, or struck more than once, that's another sign. And always check for off-center strikes, rim errors, or cracks running through the design. These are the markers that transform a quarter into a $1 million miracle. The majority of these coins are worth only face value. Many collectors mistake ordinary wear and tear for valuable errors. That's why it's crucial to study carefully, to compare against verified examples, and, when in doubt, to send the coin for professional grading, because here's the truth, this exact coin, the 2002 mint mark Mississippi quarter, could be sitting in your drawer right now. It could be lying at the bottom of a jar, hiding in a roll from the bank, or waiting in the palm of your hand. And if it carries the right error, if it holds the right detail, it's not just worth 25 cents. It's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, but one shocking discovery turned a simple New Hampshire state quarter into a $1 million miracle. At first glance, it looks like every other coin from the year 2000. A state design, the words "Live Free or Die," a line of 9 old trees carved across its surface. Thousands of people held it in their hands without a second thought. But one man, staring at his change in disbelief, realized his coin wasn't ordinary at all. What he saw would stun collectors worldwide. This was the 2000 New Hampshire quarter. Philadelphia struck millions of them. They jingled in pockets, filled vending machines, and were tossed into parking meters across America. Yet, hiding among them was a mistake so rare, so unexpected, that it transformed a 25-cent coin into a treasure worth up to $1.4 million. The answer lies deep inside the U.S. Mint's machinery, a place where even the smallest flaw can create history. Back in 1999 and 2000, the Mint was under intense pressure. The State Quarters program had just launched, one of the most ambitious projects in American coinage. Tens of millions of collectors rushed to grab each new release. The Mint's presses thundered day and night, striking quarter after quarter at lightning speed. And it was in this chaos that mistakes were born. Collectors would later discover something bizarre on certain New Hampshire quarters. Some carried doubling letters and designs etched twice as if the die had hiccuped during striking. Others showed clipped planchets, coins literally missing chunks of metal from their edges. And then there were the legends whispered in coin shops and auction rooms about a mysterious mule error. A mule is when two mismatched dies, never meant to meet, collide in the minting press. Imagine a quarter with a state design on one side, and a completely different denomination on the other. These are freaks of minting nature, accidents that slip out against all odds. And when one surfaced connected to the year 2000 series, the coin world gasped, but what happened next stunned even seasoned dealers. At a major auction, a bidder held their breath as the price climbed higher and higher. Ordinary people in the room could hardly believe their eyes. A coin that once sat in someone's pocket change now commanded bids in the hundreds of thousands. And when the final hammer fell, it was clear, a simple quarter had rewritten what collectors thought possible. One story tells of a man who unknowingly carried a valuable New Hampshire quarter in his wallet for weeks. He bought coffee with it, nearly fed it to a vending machine. But a sharp-eyed collector spotted the error before it disappeared forever. That quarter later sold for a staggering amount, changing its finder's life in an instant. Dealers whispered. Collectors hunted. And suddenly, the 2000 New Hampshire quarter was no longer just a piece of metal. It was a golden ticket, but here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night: not every valuable New Hampshire quarter looks the same. Some errors are subtle. Doubling on the words New Hampshire or Live Free or Die can be worth thousands. A missing clad layer, where the nickel coating is stripped away, revealing a copper core, can command tens of thousands. And the rarest, strangest mule errors? Those can push prices into the millions. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Pause for a moment. Imagine the weight of a single quarter in your hand. Now imagine that coin paying off your mortgage, your debts, maybe even your retirement. That's the reality of what one of these errors can mean. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too, but the danger is overlooking it. Most people never notice. They spend it. They give it to a cashier. They toss it into a change jar, where it sits in darkness. Its secret untold. Collectors were shocked when reports surfaced of New Hampshire quarters selling for over $100,000. Then came the $1 million whispers. Auction houses confirmed it. One extraordinary piece connected to the 2000p issue had crossed the $1 million threshold. Experts believe more are still out there. Hidden in drawers. Buried in piggy banks. Pass through generations unnoticed. Hold a 2000p New Hampshire quarter up to the light. First, check the lettering. Is live free or die sharp and clean? Or do you see faint doubling, as though the letters are shadowed? That could be the sign of a doubled die. Next, inspect the trees on the reverse. Are they perfectly uniform, or does the engraving seem blurred, with lines splitting into two? That doubling could turn your coin into a jackpot. Now flip it. Look at the edge. A normal quarter shows layers of copper and nickel. But some New Hampshire quarters slip through, missing their outer layer, leaving a reddish, coppery tone. That error alone could be worth tens of thousands. The mule. A quarter that doesn't belong with its own face. Sometimes paired with a Sacagawea dollar obverse, creating a hybrid monster that should never exist. These are the rarest of the rare, the kind of errors that fetch 7 figures. If you ever hold one, you're not just holding money, you're holding history. But what happened next made even skeptics believers. In 2000, a few eagle-eyed collectors began reporting their finds. Dealers at first dismissed them. Just another doubled die, they said. But when the coins were authenticated, the truth could not be denied. These weren't ordinary errors. They were masterpieces of minting mishap. And when collectors realized how few had survived, the feeding frenzy began. Imagine coin shops flooded with calls. Collectors lined up at shows, clutching handfuls of quarters, begging dealers to check them. Auction houses scrambled to list the discoveries, while private sales skyrocketed. The market had spoken. The New Hampshire quarter wasn't just another state issue. It was one of the most valuable modern coins in American history, and still today, the hunt goes on. Every new discovery reignites the fire. Every report of a sale spreads like lightning across forums and coin clubs. Dealers rush to get their hands on them. Collectors dream of being the next lucky finder. The 2000p New Hampshire quarter could be sitting in your house right now. It might be in a dusty coin jar, or rattling in your car's cup holder. It might even be hiding in your wallet at this very moment. Check every detail. Inspect the lettering, the trees, the edges. Look for doubling. Look for missing clad layers. And above all, look for anything that seems out of place, because that oddity could be worth over $1 million. And remember, history doesn't repeat itself often. These coins are rare. Fewer and fewer appear as time goes on. But when they do, the shockwaves ripple across the entire collecting world. This coin almost ended up in a handful of loose change, but when collectors realized what they were holding, it was valued at over $1 million. At first glance, the 2013 D Mint Mark Great Basin Quarter looks like just another coin from the America the Beautiful series. A tree in the center, surrounded by rocky wilderness, nothing unusual. But behind its quiet design is one of the most shocking modern coin stories ever told, because this single quarter, struck in Denver, carries a hidden detail so rare, so breathtakingly unusual, that it turned what should have been 25 cents into $1 million discovery. And here's the part no one expects: most people who see this coin have no idea what they're holding. They spend it. They toss it into a jar. Some even lose it forever. But those who know the truth? They guard it like buried treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the Great Basin Quarter was released in 2013, the US Mint produced millions. Most went into circulation, rattling through soda machines and laundromats. But a handful of coins, just a tiny fraction, came out of the presses with bizarre minting mistakes. Struck on the wrong planchets, misaligned dies, doubled images, even surfaces with ghost-like shadows. These coins were so rare that seasoned dealers called them once-in-a-generation finds. Collectors were shocked when one of these flawed quarters hit the auction block. What should have been 25 cents was suddenly climbing past thousands, then tens of thousands, and finally, an unimaginable number. well over $1 million, but here's the mystery that still keeps collectors awake at night. No one knows exactly how many of these error-struck quarters are out there. Some say only a few escaped the mint before inspectors caught on. Others whisper that hundreds may still be hiding in drawers, pockets, or even gumball machines, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to notice. A tiny detail most people miss. Look closely at the Great Basin's famous tree. On certain coins, the die strike doubled the branches, making the limbs look like they are trembling in the wind. On others, the mint mark D is tilted, misshapen, or barely visible, a sign of a damaged die. And the rarest of all, a Great Basin quarter struck on a copper penny planchet, thinner and darker than a normal quarter, but carrying the 2013 design. That single mistake transformed a 25-cent coin into $1 million miracle, but what happened when the first collector uncovered this treasure was almost unbelievable. One man, sifting through pocket change at his kitchen table, noticed his Great Basin quarter felt light. He studied it under a lamp and realized the edge was wrong. It didn't have the standard quarter ridges, it was smooth, flat, copper-colored. Dealers later confirmed it had been struck on the wrong planchet, a mint error so rare that only one or two had ever been documented. That coin sold for a staggering amount, the kind of money that changes a life forever, and this story spread like wildfire. Suddenly, coin hunters across America began scanning every 2013 D quarter they could find. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on even normal Great Basin quarters, hoping lightning might strike twice, but here's the chilling part: experts say more of these treasures are still unaccounted for. Which means someone, somewhere, is holding $1 million quarter without even knowing it. The suspense only grows when you realize how easily these coins slip through the cracks. Banks roll them up, stores hand them out as change, kids throw them in piggy banks. The average person would never think to stop and look twice. And that's why, for collectors in the know, the hunt has become an obsession, but the story doesn't end there. In 2017, another example surfaced. This time, the coin showed a doubled reverse, the mighty bristlecone pine appearing twice, like a shadow carved into the metal. The bidding war was fierce. By the time the auctioneer's hammer fell, the coin had reached another mind-blowing figure. Once again, a 25-cent coin had crossed into the realm of million-dollar legends, and what's truly inspiring is how ordinary these discoveries always seem at first. One man found his in a coin-counting machine. Another spotted it in change from a gas station. A woman even said she almost gave hers to a child for a gumball, before noticing something strange about the color. Every story carries the same haunting theme: a coin that nearly slipped away, until one small detail revealed its true worth. It proves that modern coins, even those minted just a decade ago, can hide unimaginable secrets. You don't need an ancient treasure or a century-old rarity. You just need sharp eyes, patience, and a little bit of luck. So how can you tell if you have one of these $1 million Great Basin quarters in your hands right now? If it looks doubled, tilted, or distorted, you may have something special. Second, inspect the weight and thickness. If your quarter feels light, thinner, or looks copper-colored around the edges, it could be a wrong planchet strike. Third, study the reverse under good light. If the pine tree shows ghost-like doubling in its branches or trunk, you're staring at a rare double die error. Most importantly, never dismiss a coin that feels unusual. The smallest scratch, shadow, or misalignment could be the very flaw that transforms a 25-cent piece into a fortune. Hidden treasures are still out there. Every pocket of change is a lottery ticket. Every coin jar is a chest of mysteries waiting to be unlocked. The 2013 D-Mint Mark Great Basin quarter that looks ordinary to one person could be worth up to $1.5 million to the next.